So, what are some of the key things you can do to really impress the examiners for question 5 of paper 1? And we're looking at the November 2020 paper as our example. So what we're going to be looking at in this lesson is ways of starting your creative writing. If you make a really strong start, that really impresses the examiner. So this is the paper. Your local library is running a creative writing competition. The best entries will be published in a booklet of creative writing. And either write a description of a mysterious place as suggested by this picture, or write a story about an event that cannot be explained. So whether you choose the description or the story, it doesn't matter. It's the same mark scheme, but you will also notice that the picture they choose will have some connection with the first 4 questions that you've been looking at. So we've had this story of Rosie with this looking out the window and suddenly this girl appearing and then disappearing. So there's something slightly uncanny, mysterious about that. And then we're given a picture that is sort of similar in theme. So that is why I always do suggest to students to do the paper in order. I know some teachers are saying do question 5 first because it's worth the most marks, and I can understand that, because what you don't want to do is spend so much time on questions 1 to 4 that you've got no time left for question 5, which is worth 50% of the paper. But on the other hand, questions 1 to 4 sort of warm you up for the creative writing. You're looking at the way the writer uses language, the way the writer uses structure, and obviously you can use some of those same ideas in your own writing. Let's have a think. How do we go about this? So first of all, some of the problems. Quite often, students start far too slowly. It was a cold day, she walked up to the gate. Well, that's a little bit flat, isn't it? Examiners read that sort of thing hundreds of times. It's not going to make an impression. If you want a grade 9, if you want a top grade, you've really got to start with impact. And one of the ways of doing this, it's not the only way, but it's a suggestion, is to start in media res, so right in the middle of the action. Let's have a look at what this could look like. So in media res, it means starting in the middle of things. So instead of slowly building up the scene, you throw the reader straight into the action. And in fact, films often do this. So, I'm sure you've seen films where it starts with a chase sequence or a heated argument or a dramatic incident. And it's effective because you, as the viewer or the reader, you're not quite sure what's going on. So it raises questions in the mind of the reader. And if you've got questions in your mind, you are engaged. You're wanting to find out the answers to those questions. And this is a technique that you could use in your writing. So let's have a think. Imagine a character arriving at the exam picture, which was this gate. So imagine a character arriving there. How could you start? I would say don't start with just them walking up to the gate. Start with them already doing something. So you might want to pause the video and jot down an idea. Okay, so it could be them walking up, putting their hand on the gate, peering through, whatever, but actually doing something. This is an example of a weak opening. She walked slowly towards the gate. The wind blew in the trees. She felt nervous. It's accurately written. It's well punctuated, but it's a bit bland, isn't it? So this is stronger, and this is starting in media res. The gate slammed behind her as she stumbled forward, heart hammering. So the first example is just telling us, isn't it? Just telling the reader. The second one, it's throwing us in. It's using sound, movement, and tension. And obviously, whether you're an examiner or whoever, you're going to prefer the second one, aren't you? Okay. So, techniques for action openings. So when you start in media res, think about the sound. What can you hear? Are there crashes, bangs, whispers? Think about the movement, running, stumbling, gripping, struggling. Think about the emotion of the character. And instead of telling us she was scared, show us how she's scared. Her hands shook on the iron handle. You're forcing the reader to do a bit of the work, and that is another way of engaging the reader, creating unanswered questions, but also forcing them to actually think, oh, what is that character feeling? Obviously, they're feeling scared. A mini prompt, pause the video, rewrite this. She was scared of the gate, but instead of saying she was scared, show her fear through the action. There's an example there. See if you can come up with another one. One way of doing this is to think, what happens to you? What happens to you physically in your body when you're scared? What actually happens? Does your heart start beating faster? Does your mouth go dry? Do your hands become sweaty? Does your breath quicken? Think about the actual physical reactions and describe those. That's a really effective way of showing rather than telling. Okay, so pause the video, have a go at this and come back when you're ready. Okay, so building tension after the opening. An action opening isn't just drama, it's about pulling the reader in. Well, that's what we've been saying, isn't it? So after the initial burst of action or whatever, try and add some detail or mystery. For example, the gate slammed behind her, she turned, but the path was empty. What question does this leave in the reader's mind? So it's as if somebody slammed the gate, but there's nobody there. So immediately raises questions, just like with the passage we looked at the other day with Rosie. You know, she saw that girl in the garden, went out, girl wasn't there. So it's like, what's happened? Was it imagination? Has the girl disappeared? So who slammed the gate? Why? So creating a certain sense of mystery, you hook the reader. And that's what you want. So here's an example of a model grade 9 opening. The gate shuddered as it crashed shut behind her. So a nice, well-chosen verb there. It's almost onomatopoeic. Shuddered. She spun around, breath clouding in the air. But the path was deserted. Her fingers scraped the rusted iron, searching for a way back. But the lock was already in place. Okay, so we've got sound, we've got movement, we've got mystery. There's no slow lead in, it's straight into the action. And this is the level of impact that examiners reward. This is signalling, this is a candidate who knows what they're doing. Okay, so key takeaways. In media res, start with action, use sound, movement, emotion through the action. Try and create a sense of mystery, some unanswered questions, and these strong openings grip the examiners immediately. And next lesson, a quick preview, we are going to be looking at setting an atmosphere where the place itself becomes the hook. If you want more top tips on how to get a grade 9, I've got a free guide to paper 1. The link is in the description. And do subscribe so you don't miss the next lesson. See you next time.